Okay, so welcome to my full review of the Time Worksheet Generator software, which launches today at 11 AM Eastern Time, November the 11th, and ends on the 14th of November at midnight. So you've probably seen me talk about this software in my recent videos. You've probably seen me use it for some of my recent books. So what I wanted to do was to go over absolutely everything that you need to know about this before you make any kind of decision regarding a purchase. So what I've decided to do with these reviews now is to give a pros and cons section at the end of the video to help you make the best choice possible for you and your publishing business. So we're going to go over absolutely everything because I don't want to recommend any software or any tools that don't fit into your publishing goals or misrepresent what they can actually do for you. So let's just keep this real and go over absolutely everything that the software can offer you. So the first thing that we're going to do is take a look at what type of niche the app actually lets you create books for and whether that niche actually has a good demand. From there, we're going to take a look at the basic functions of the software. So the fundamentals like adding in the various elements, the different settings that you can adjust, etc., etc. So for there, we're going to do a demo of the software being used so that you can see the functionality of the software and what it is like to actually use when it comes to creating pages for your books. So for there, what I'm going to do is show you what I plan to use the app for. So the different types of books that I'm going to create in this niche. I'm also going to show you how that fits into the bigger picture of the brand that I'm creating. From there, we have a very important section, which is going to be the pricing structure explained. Okay, so this is going to be all the different features you get with each version of the software, because when software like this comes out, typically you have like 3 versions of it. So the front end version, which is the base version, and then you have 2 different versions you can get from there. Okay, so I'm going to explain absolutely everything you're getting and what the prices are going to be so that everything is crystal clear for you. So last but not least, we're going to talk about the bonus that I'm going to be giving away with this software. And I think this is the most exciting part of this offer, is that you're going to get access to my 7-day boot camp, which is going to be basically a private Facebook coaching group. So this is extremely exciting. I wanted to do this for a long time and I'm going to be giving it away if you purchase. I'm going to give you access, if you purchase this software through me. But we're going to talk about that in much more detail at the end of the video. But like I say, I recommend that you go through the entirety of this video before you make any kind of decision. Okay, so let's get stuck into this review and talk about what niche the app allows you to create books in. So primarily the app targets a more specific section of early education that revolves around time reading. And the thing is, when it comes to checking out these books on Amazon, you'll see that there's really not that many on there, and the ones that are on there, they do tend to sell pretty well and pretty consistently from what I've found. And one of the checks that I like to do when there's not that many books on Amazon is to come to the search bar and just see if there's any like variations being searched for as well. So telling time workbook here, there's tons of different variations that people are searching for, which does tend to suggest from how I typically produce books that there is quite a lot of traffic going to this niche. And that's why these type of apps are created. It's so that people like us can enter into these niches, because like I say, it's just too hard to create manually, and creating something like this manually would probably take you weeks and weeks and weeks just to do a few pages. So later on in this review, I'm going to go over all the different types of books that I'm going to be creating, hopefully going to be creating with this software, that are more specific toward time telling, because there's a lot of different directions that you can take with this niche. Okay, so let's get into the software itself and go over the fundamental features. So for this part of the review, I'm going to be using the base version of the software. And at this point, I don't want you to worry about the different upgrades and all that gunk, because we're going to get to that as we go through this and make it crystal clear as to what you're getting with each version of the software. So in its most bare form, what this software allows you to do is to randomly generate these different types of clock faces that you can use for your early education workbooks or for whatever project that you're working on. Okay, so before we move on to the finer details here in terms of the settings and the different types of clocks that you can introduce into your project and all the different filters that you can play around with, I just want to talk about the very basics that you can expect to find across the board with any of the projects that you're working on. So with other apps just like this, the ones that you've probably seen before in the past, you have the same ability to drag and drop wherever you want. You've got the ability to resize these the way that you want. You've got the ability to align them on the screen the way that you want. So there's a ton of flexibility when it comes to resizing and repositioning your clocks the way that you want them on the screen. And just like the other apps as well, if you want to clone the page that you've got, you can go ahead up here and just clone the page, and it's going to clone it onto the very next page with a new set of randomly generated clocks. Okay, So just touching upon the random generation here, with these type of apps, what you can do if you're not happy with what you see on the clock faces, you can either regenerate the whole thing by clicking up here on regenerate data, or you can come to the individual clock that you're not happy with. So if you had two that were exactly the same side by side, you could just right click on the one that you wanted to change and then just regenerate the data on that single clock, and that's going to change the hands there. Okay, so just a couple of the other basic features here. Now we've got a zoom function, and this is going to come in handy when it comes to customizing our clock using the settings here, because we're going to be changing, or have the ability to change a lot of the finer details, but we'll get into that in just a second. But what we can also do for further customization is to add text onto our pages within the app here and drag and drop where we want it. Okay, and of course we can use the different options here in terms of alignment for the text as well. Okay, so on top of that, we have the ability to add in the different types of text as well, and I think that's actually going to change not just the text box here, but also the text on the numbers and the solutions here as well. So just quickly going to change that to a different type of font so we can see what it actually changes on the screen here. Let's go ahead and try this one here. And as you can see, as we click through these, it is changing the style of what I've got selected, which is the clocks at the moment. And if you want to change the text, you can come up and change that as well to how you want it. Okay, so this already offers a fair bit of flexibility, but if we want to take things to the next level, we have a ton of different settings that we have here for every single type of clock that we introduce onto our project. So just going to go through some of these quickly now. We've pretty much done, you can change the different rows, the columns. So let's just go ahead and change the rows down to 1 and update our worksheet. And that's going to drop this down to this here. So let's go ahead and just make this a little bit bigger and start working on this now. So we've already gone and changed the different grid height and the grid width and the row spacing and things like that. But what we can do from here is to start changing some of the much finer details so that we create something that is completely unique. Okay, so there's quite a lot here, so I'm going to go through these quite quickly, and as I go through them, I'll just update the page so you can see the changes that we make. Okay, so for example, we can change the radius size here, and every change that we make, we want to update our worksheet and see what that does. Now, obviously, that looks a bit ridiculous. You'd have to resize things. So let's just make that a little bit smaller for now. That's too small, obviously. And we're going to resize to a point that we're happy with. So let's just go with that there. In fact, what we can do, if we want to work with bigger clocks, let's reduce the number of columns. And then we're going to start making the radius of these bigger. And let's see if we can change the width of this as well. So let's just drag this down and fit this into the center. And we're going to start working on these two clocks now. Okay, so from here we can change the hour hand length. Let's just quickly do that and see how that updates. We can change the hour hand thickness. Again, let's quickly see what that does. That looks a bit silly. Let's take it back to where it was. We can change the color, and let's just do that one there. So put it as blue. And all these different options that you have for pretty much every element of the clock here. Okay, so you can change the minute hand thickness, you can change the minute hand color, you can change whether the clock has got a rounded arrow, you can change whether the clock's actually got the arrow on it or not, you can change the clock arrow size, all these things. Let's just play around with a few of them and then just update and see what it brings us back with. Okay, so this is what I came back with after just fiddling with some of the settings here and also changing the font as well. So this gives us the ability to create something that is ultra unique that no one else is going to have inside of their books, and it's up to you how much customization you want to go with, if any, but it's nice to have the amount of flexibility that the app offers. And you can even change some of the answer area settings as well, so we can put a box around that, for example, or we can change the thickness of that area there. And of course, we can change the distance between the clock as well. So if you want to make it a little bit closer for whatever reason, then you can do that, or take it further away, you can do that as well. And if you want to show the solution, of course, you can go ahead and do that as well. And it's all done with 100% accuracy as well. So tons and tons and tons of flexibility in this section of the software. So this flexibility offers itself across any type of clock that you introduce into your pages here. So as you can see, we've got absolutely tons of these. I'm going to go over them in just a second. Okay, so let's zoom back out now and take a look at the different types of clocks that you can introduce into your project. So let's just delete these quickly and start looking at the different clocks we can add. So depending on the version of the software that you get, bear in mind I'm using the base version of the software, you're going to get access to different types of clock faces. So just to scroll through these, as you can see, there's way too many, and there's going to be a few more that we're going to take a look at in a minute, which is going to be in the upgrades. But just for now, what I want you to know is that there's basically 3 different types that you can select from. And within those 3 different types, we have these different filters as well. So we can decide whether we want clocks that end up on the hour, on the half hour, the quarter hour, on 5 minutes, or on 1 minute. Okay, so we're just going to go through this and do a little demonstration here. But the 3 different types of clock that we have our typical one, where if we just introduce this here, we have the one where the child will have to go ahead and write whatever the clock is showing at the moment. So let's just reduce the rows here and put the other ones in as well. So just take this down to 1. Okay, so the second type of clock type that we have is where they have to draw the hands onto the clock. Okay, so we're going to try and find the exact same style that we had before. So it's the one with the dots here, which is this one here. So we want to find the blank face equivalent of that one. So let's just scroll through until we find that. I think it's pretty close. Okay, so let's add one of these 2 in here. Let's go ahead and add this one and do the same and drop that down to 1 row, and we're going to position that into the center of our page. And again, of course, it snaps it and aligns it with the other clocks as well. So the third type that we have are the multiple choice ones. Okay, so these are down toward the bottom on the base version here, which is this section. So let's go ahead and use this style here, and again we're going to cut that down to just 1 row, and we're going to put that we're going to snap that to the bottom here, and then put that into put that into the bottom. We're going to center that. Okay, so what you can see here is that there's a couple of things that are going wrong that we need to change manually here. So what's happening is that this isn't aligned correctly because of the different style that we've selected. So what we can do is just go ahead and make sure it's in the center and start dragging it until it aligns with the clocks above. Okay, so the other thing that you're going to notice here is that, actually that's not quite right. So the other thing that you're going to notice here is that the numbering is inaccurate. So we can see it goes 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 when it should go 1 to 9. Okay, so what we can do here when we're creating these type of problems is to click on the one that we want to change. Then we're going to come down to the settings again, and we're going to change this here and select the start index at the number that we want it to start with. So obviously we're going to go 1 2 3, and it's going to go to 4 here. So we're going to select 4 here, and then of course we're going to go ahead and select 7 for the one down here, just so that it stays in order. Okay, 4 5 6 7, and there we go. And just align that again. There we go. So as we can see here, like I filtered out, I wanted to make sure these were all on the hour. Okay, so these are on the hour, these are on the hour, and of course these are on the hour as well. Okay, of course the 3 different types that we've put in. Okay, so frustratingly, I've just accidentally deleted the page that I was working on whilst trying to clone it, and there doesn't appear to be an undo option. So that's slightly frustrating, and that would be something that I think would be great to see in these type of apps in the future. But regardless, I should probably just be a bit more careful. But what I was going to say was that if you want to clone the page that you're working on, if you want to make multiple pages like this that have the same layout, what we can do, like we did before, was to come up to the clone button here, clone that page, and we can do that as many times as we like. So if we wanted 10 pages of the same layout, we could just add in 10 of those pages, and of course it's going to randomly regenerate what the clocks are showing as well, so that each page is unique. Okay, so a feature like that is going to massively reduce your workload when it comes to producing books that are going to be like 100 to 120 pages long. Okay, so just to clarify what I mean by the different filters here, so what we can do if we wanted to have a variety of different problems on the page, so if we wanted like 3 that were dedicated to clocks that were on the hour, and then 3 that were dedicated to clocks that were on the quarter hour, we could go ahead and just delete them and start filtering out the ones that we want. So we want the quarter hour here. So let's filter that and go ahead and put in one that is of the same design. So this one here, I believe. So we can introduce that again, drop the rows down to 1, and then we're going to slot that in and snap it into the center as well. And of course, it's going to be everything on the quarter past here now. And of course, if you're making pages this way, which you probably will be, you always want to make sure that you have the numbers correctly. So again, you'd have to do the index thing here and change that to the 4, and there we go. So also just regarding the filter that we have here, of course we can change the different clock template types that we want to filter out. But on top of that, we can change the clock type to whether we want it to be analog or digital. And then of course we have the other settings here like the block style and the border style as well. So you can filter those things out until you find the one that you want. Alternatively, what you can do is just type in the code of the one that you like. So if you like this one here, for example, you would want to copy this code here, copy that, and then if you want to refer back to that another time, you can just search that in here. It's going to filter out, search that and press enter. It's going to filter out that exact one. Okay, obviously that's pretty handy because there's like 400 different templates in the base end version, and I think there's more in the upgrades as well. So it's, you know, it's a pretty handy feature to have. And just to quickly touch upon one more feature here before we move on and take a look at what type of books I'm going to be creating. What we can do here, if we want to create a clock with a custom time on it, we can come to the elements section here, we can select the clock, and then from here we can start working on this individual clock. And it's going to have all the same settings as before, but the difference this time is that you can change the time that you want to have on the hands. So for example, if we wanted to have it at 12 minutes past the hour, we can go and just select that, update that, and then of course we can go ahead and do the usual customizations with these settings as well if we want to. So that's the basics of the software and the niche that it helps you create pages for. So for me, when I use a software or when I recommend a software, there has to be a certain level of user friendliness, because the point of using software is to reduce your workload, right? So it's no good if it's a nightmare to use. So in this section, what I'm going to do is start creating a kind of fictitious book here and go ahead and create some pages for a workbook that I'm then going to go ahead and take over into Canva so you can see how it works in real time. So what I'll probably do in this section is just speed the video up a little bit just so it doesn't drag on for too long. And then after that, I'm going to show you exactly what I'm going to be using the app for with my brand of books. Okay, so let's go ahead and create a unique page here, and then we're going to download that, and then we're going to take that across into Canva where we're going to edit it further. Okay. Okay, just to slow down here, at this point we have the option now, depending on which version of the software you get, you're going to get different download options. So don't worry about that just yet. I'm going to go over everything in just a moment. But what we're going to do now is to download this and then take that over to Canva so that we can edit this further. Okay, so let's just download this as a PNG for now, then load it into our Canva template. Okay, so once we've uploaded this into Canva, as we can see here, so we downloaded it as a PNG from the app, and then uploaded it into Canva, so we can take that and that's going to pop that into our template. So this is a template obviously that I made earlier. This is possibly the template that I'm going to be using for the book that I'm publishing, but what we can do is just drop that in here, drag it around until we have it the way that we want it, and then we can just add some text in. Now you can do this in the app, but I just prefer doing it in Canva. And then of course we can move that around to where we want it, and let's just zoom out. Obviously we wouldn't use the green here, by the way. I'm just sort of messing around because you can't really see the green. It would make no sense to have that in a book that's black and white otherwise. So let's just zoom out here, make sure everything looks aligned the way that we want it, and that's the page created from the app and then uploaded into Canva. Okay, so pretty easy to do, pretty fast to do, and offers a lot more customization when you can take it over to a program where you can actually edit things even further than what you can do inside the app. Okay, so before we move on to the whole pricing thing and the bonuses, I'm going to talk about the type of books that I'm going to be uploading into my brand. I'm going to show you the book that I've been working on and the book that it's going to work alongside as well. Okay, so that's a pretty extensive look at the software so far. So for this next section, I'm going to share with you what my plans are to use this app in order to help me build up my brand. So if you've been watching my videos lately, you'll know that I published this addition and subtraction workbook about 3 months ago, and it had around 270 sales I think so far, And what my plan is from here is to start building this Dog Mass brand into something that has a lot more authority and obviously makes me a lot more money. So what I'm looking to do is to go much more niche specific now and be the first of my kind, the first of our kind, to actually start producing these really specific books. So when we start producing really specific books in a big niche, that's when we start building up an authority in that area. Okay, so just take a quick look at what the sort of plan was. So basically we had the addition and subtraction workbook, which was used using the different software. And the first book that I've created using the new software is a telling time workbook, which hasn't been released yet, but when it gets released, I'll make a video on that and you can track that and you can track the other book as well. So from there, we're going to branch off. Let me just come back onto the app and show you quickly what I'm planning. So we want to branch off into different age groups. So when we branch off to different age groups, we have to research that and understand what the audience is looking for. But typically, that's going to be something that's slightly harder for children to complete. So what I'm going to look at using the app for is creating these kind of time elapsed problems here. So where the child has to work out, obviously how much time has elapsed between this clock and this clock here, and they work and they write that down here. So from there, what I think I'm going to do is start making more dedicated type of these type of 12 to 24 hour conversion sheets here. Now these type of like this niche that we're looking at here, like a really small section of this niche, there's not going to be anything on Amazon like it at the moment. I wouldn't have thought that many people, if any, are doing these type of elapsed time workbooks. And like I say, when we're like the first, when we're so specific with what we're doing, we're going to start building up that the authority in that niche. Okay, so customers ideally, when they buy these books, they're going to come back and buy the other ones. Okay, because this is the type of niche where people, the books will stick around for a long time, and people will tend to come back and look for different version of them. So they might start here, buy this one, then they come down, buy this one here, then they come back and buy this one here, or buy this one here, buy this one, etc., etc. So like I said in my last video, it's about creating this kind of like authority ecosystem within our brand, right? So the other thing that I was looking to do, and it's something I'm still working on with coloring books at the moment, is to start offering more pages as printables through Etsy. So I have some experience selling printables on Etsy, and it was surprisingly good. I just lost the desire to do it. But again, you're not going to find that many on Etsy, I don't think, but it would be a good, and that's something the app allows you to do. You can sell your worksheets onto Etsy as printable downloads. Okay, so that would be the next step. I think from there, what I'd possibly look at doing, if we saw what I just created very briefly, was to kind of look at, once I sort of build up slightly more authority in this niche, is then to take a look at making things a little bit more interactive, and that's something that's going to take me a bit more time to do. But you can do this in the app as well. Like you have these with some of the upgrades, you can use the different borders to make these look a bit more sort of more engaging and more interactive for children to complete. But yeah, like I say, there are a lot of directions that you can take with this. Obviously, to build up something that's worth a lot of money, to make a business that's worth 6 figures, for example, it's going to take some time. But I'm looking at hopefully around sort of 6 months, and that's the reason why I don't ever mind buying software that's like a one-time purchase, is because if you buy it like now, you might not use it for another year or another 2 years, then you still have the option to do that. Whereas if you're paying monthly, you're kind of going to be wasting, especially if you've not got the motivation to start producing the books. And just to give you a quick example of what I mean by that, I bought the software for this word search that I created here. I bought this, I think it's like a year and a half ago, used it for a little bit, didn't have any desire to use it for a while, and then all of a sudden I was like, I want to make a Christmas word search, and then here it was, and this book is doing pretty well. So that's why I never mind these sort of one-time payment softwares. But obviously this is something you'd need to weigh up if it's worth it for you and your publishing business and your desires as well. Okay, so let's go ahead and clarify the pricing situation and structure with this, because I know this can get quite confusing and annoying for some people. So let's make sure you know exactly what you're getting. So it's going to be a launch period where the prices are reduced. So that's between November the 11th and November the 14th. Okay, and there's a couple different versions of the software that you can get. So I'm just going to load up an account with each version of the software in it and go through exactly what you're going to be getting, so there's no confusions here. Okay, so the first version of the software is the Time Worksheet Generator, which we're going to call the front end, or the base version. It's the first thing that you have to get. It's a requirement to get this before you upgrade to anything else. So with this, you get the basic 400 templates here that you can see. I think it's actually over 400, but we have these 400 basic clocks here that we can choose from. So the next notable feature here is that you have the ability to download these as PDFs, PNGs and JPEGs. From there you get 100 downloads per month. Okay, so what that means is it's 100 times that you click the download button, not 100 pages. So if you generate 50 pages and then click download on all of them, that's going to count as one download and not 50. Okay, so across all the different versions of the software, you're going to get the commercial use to use for your publishing business or your Etsy or whatever it is that wherever it is you're going to sell them. Okay, and one really big thing to note here is that if you purchased the clock upgrade from the Math Worksheet Generator software, so that was the one that came out like 3 months ago, you're going to get this added to your account for free. Okay, so if you already have Math Worksheet Generator, which I think was the OTO number 2, if you have that, the clock's already on that one, then you're going to get this upgrade for free. Okay, so that's pretty awesome. Okay, so let's take a look at the first upgrade, which is called Time Worksheets Generator Pro. So that's going to be $67 at the launch, and then that goes up to $97 after the launch. So basically what this is going to allow you to do is to create more advanced sheets for your workbooks. So we're looking at things like time elapsed problems, time addition and subtraction problems, and of course we have the 12-hour to 24-hour conversions as well. So these are what they look like here. So I've just loaded up an account with the first upgrade on it. So we have these kind of addition and subtraction ones that we can create here for more advanced workbooks. Then we have the conversion ones like this, and then we have the time elapsed ones as well. So these are the type of, if you're interested in creating more advanced books, you know, sort of niching down even further, then this is definitely an upgrade to get, because I think if I had to recommend getting an upgrade, it would definitely be this, because you can start producing these really specific type of books that probably no one else is actually publishing on Amazon at the moment. So that gives you, like I say, it gives you the option to create the elapsed time ones, the 12-hour to 24-hour conversions, and the time addition and subtraction. So that's adding, as we can see here, a ton of different options for us to choose from. Okay, so this is where the new ones come in at the bottom here. As you can see, that's going to give you a ton of options. Of course, with these as well, you have all the different customizations in the settings as well, like we have across the board on the other ones. Okay, so also in this version of the software, you're going to get unlimited downloads. Okay, so you can click that download button as many times as you like. We have another download option added into this where we can download them and use them in PowerPoint. So on top of this, we have the option to bulk clone. Okay, so I'll demonstrate what that means very quickly. So if we come back over to the app here, let's say that we wanted to bulk clone this page here. We can come up to this setting here. So you don't have this the bulk clone in the standard version. You have to get the upgraded to use the bulk clone. You can come across the bulk clone here and then type how many pages you want. So if we wanted 10 of this type of page, we're going to click 10. We're going to type in 10 and clone the pages, and that's going to give you 10 more of those pages. Okay, and of course they're going to be randomly generated so that they're all different as well. So just a couple more things here with this version of the software. You're going to get more color options to choose from, so that adds to more customization for your pages. And you also have the ability to upload your own images, which is what you don't get access to in the base version of the software. Okay, so that's on this section here. So if you have some element that you want to introduce into the page, you can just upload it from your PC, drag it into here and place it wherever you want. Okay, and again, this is going to be free if you have purchased the clock upgrade from the Math Worksheet Generator. Okay, so I can't stress this enough that this is going to be added to your account for free, this version as well, if you have the clock version of Math Worksheet Generator. So that's not the base version of Math Work Generator. That's the one where you, if you bought Math Worksheet Generator and you wanted the clocks, if you got that and paid for that, then you're going to get this added to your account for free. Okay, so you're getting the first upgrade, the base version, and the upgrade of this for free if you have that version of Math Worksheet Generator. Okay, so that moves me on to the last upgrade, which is called Time Worksheet Generator Premium, which is $67 at launch and then goes up to $97 after launch. Okay, so this is one I'm not going to weigh in on because this is completely down to you. If you find this type of thing is going to be worth it for you, you have to decide that. But basically all this is going to be is going to add some design illustrations and borders that you can use. Okay, so you're going to have access to these images that you have commercial usage for in multiple niches that you can use to kind of like pimp out anything that you're creating inside of the app. So I'll just show you a few of them here. If I use just one of these clock faces as an example. So if we come back over to our images here, we can see that we have a few different niches of borders and other elements that we can choose from. So we've got farm, jungle, kids, mermaid and princess. monster truck, office, robot, routine, school, things that move, trains, and we have quite a few of them in each section. Okay, so once we go in, we have different options for each one here. I'll introduce a couple of these into the page so you can see what it looks like and see if it's worth it to you. But we've got a ton of different elements here, and like I say, you're going to get the commercial usage for these, so you can use them in your projects. So if I just introduce some of the monster truck ones in here, so let's just pick this one and add that in. So we're going to be able to resize that. Now we need to position this behind the clocks here, so we can just right click and push that to the back, and then just adjust our, if I just quickly adjust the width here, and then you can play around with it however you want. But of course, this is going to come in handy if you're trying to target more specific niches and make things a little bit more playful. You'd have to weigh up whether this is worth it to you or not. But like I say, there is a ton of different elements that you can add in here, and obviously they're all going to be targeted toward children, because that is obviously the niche. And of course, you can just drag and drop in and resize and position as many as you want, okay, where it makes sense to do so. But yeah, you get the point here. You have to weigh up whether that's worth it to you or not. Okay, so hopefully that's the pricing structure explained to you, so you know exactly what you're getting. So let's just move toward the end of the video now and talk about the pros and cons, and also my very exciting bonus that I have to offer with this software. So stick around to make sure that you know exactly what you're going to be getting with that, because it's a big one. So let's just go over the pros and cons very quickly. So for me, I found it very easy to use. It was kind of similar to Canva if I had to make a comparison with the way that you can introduce the different elements, resize them, reposition them. It's all pretty easy to do. And that sort of naturally leads you on to a reduced workload. So that one of the other pros here is that, you can create these pages pretty quickly. And if you're doing this manually, then it would take you obviously months to weeks to months to create these type of pages. And I should have mentioned this earlier, but of course, with any type of software like this, you have the ability to generate the solutions at the back of the book as well. So just show you what I mean by that here. Once we have our clocks on the page here, we can generate the solutions by coming up here, clicking generate solutions. That's going to generate the solutions, and then you can come back, and that's going to be at the back of your book. Okay, so you can do that for every type of clock that you introduce into your work pages. So the next big pro here was obviously that it allows us to enter into a new niche. So obviously most of us aren't going to bother trying to make these type of books manually or outsource them. And the reason why there's not that many of these type of books on Amazon is because they're very hard to create. So the ability to enter into these new niches is pretty awesome. And of course, depending on what version of the software you get, you'll be able to create books in much more specific niches as well. Okay, so on top of that, we had loads of customization for every single type of clock that we were working on. We had all these different settings that we could work with, and that works across pretty much all the different types of clock that you're using as well. And for me, and some people might feel differently, but a big pro for me is that it is a one-time payment. So I would rather have like a slightly higher one-time payment than pay monthly for something that's not as good. And just a couple cons here that I found whilst using this during like a sort of beta test. I did have a few issues with aligning my clocks properly on the page. So that was a case of when I was kind of trying to produce like those multiple clocks, they didn't quite line up, so I had to adjust them manually, which is not a big deal, but it was something that I did notice. There was also a couple bugs during the beta test, but typically I believe this company are pretty good at sort of fixing bugs as and when they occur. So it was slightly annoying, but nothing deal breaking, obviously. The one that was a little bit annoying was the option to not undo things. I might have missed it. I don't think I have missed it. But if you accidentally delete something, then there doesn't appear to be... I don't think we can even do like a Control Z type thing. If I just delete this here, but can we Control Z? Is that no, I don't think there's anything to undo. So that would be nice if that could be added in the future. I don't know whether that's even possible, but again, it is obviously nothing deal breaking. So the last sort of con here is that the pricing structure for these type of softwares, they are frustrating. Sales pages are kind of a bit dream selly as well, which is going to move me on to my bonus now. Okay, so let's just talk about the bonus and tie this into the whole kind of dream selling. And when it comes to these type of apps, that people do tend to misrepresent what these can actually do for you. So it's great that it allows us to enter into a new niche. It's great that the software works well, but nothing is going to happen unless you start taking action and do things in a way that actually increase your chances of making sales through Amazon. Okay, so no matter what you see on sales pages, no matter what you see in other videos with silly claims and all sorts of things that the software can do for you, nothing is going to happen. So that's why I'm going to be offering with this software is a 7-day private bootcamp. Okay, and that's going to take place in a Facebook group. So the reason that I want to offer this as a bonus is to help people actually take action and take thoughtful mechanical steps to publishing a book in this niche. So the videos are going to be released in a kind of staggered fashion, where we're going to go from day 1 to day 7. So from having nothing to having a book published. Okay, and since the videos are going to remain in the group, you can go at your own pace until your book is live. And the thing is, when it comes to the Facebook group, is that we're going to be able to engage with each other. You're going to be able to engage with me, and I'm going to be there. I'm going to be watching to make sure that you actually start producing books so that you don't have any excuses anymore. Because what's going to be happening is you're going to be watching me from day 1 to day 7 is create my book from start to finish. Okay, so the books I'm talking about is the one that I'm in the process of publishing, which is this one here, which is using the app. There are a couple of grammatical errors on this, so I'm going to be changing a few things before I actually release this. But this is the book you're going to be following alongside me with. Okay, so the whole point of this sort of private coaching group is to make sure that you actually go through hitting the publish button and make sure you actually start making these dreams a reality. Okay, and actually start building something that's going to be worth, hopefully will be worth a lot of money in the future. Okay, in this niche. Of course, anything that you learn inside of that Facebook group, you can apply to your other books as well. So I don't think there's anything I could possibly give as a bonus that I think is more valuable than this. So you're going to get this bonus if you pick up any version of the software. Okay, so even if you get the $47, the base end, if you just want that, if that's suitable for you, you're going to get the access to the private bootcamp. Okay, so after the launch is done, like a little bit down the line, I'm going to look at increasing the price of my own bootcamp, because it is going to be a time suck for me, an enjoyable one, but regardless, like, it's going to take a lot of my time. So down the line, I am most definitely going to increase the price of this to something much more substantial. Okay, so to get access to this bootcamp, it's going to take place. It's going to start after the launch finishes. Okay, so you're going to get an email from me as to when this starts. You're going to get an invite into the Facebook group where you can start producing your book alongside mine. So for this to happen, you have to email me your receipt, okay, for your purchase. You have to do that, and you have to send that to chris@chrisraydog.co.uk. Okay, so I'm going to put my email address in the description below so that you know exactly what to email. Okay, so I've got a few emails out there, but make sure you use that one to get access to this. Okay, so this is something I've been mega excited about. I've wanted to do this for a long time, to start engaging with more people and sort of working a bit closer when it comes to producing your books. I'm really excited because you're going to be able to engage with other people in that group as well, if you want to, of course, and you're going to be able to go at your own pace. And I'm going to do it in a way where there's not going to be like 200 videos. It's not some insanely advanced course that's going to like break your brain and things like that. We're going to do it in a really step-by-step mechanical way, just so you can start producing books that have a chance of making sales, and then you can build from there with more advanced features with more advanced strategies in the future. Okay, so if this is the type of thing that you've needed to get that sort of boost, that sort of motivation and confidence to go through with actually publishing books, then type in the comments, let me know. Type something like let me into the bootcamp, Chris. I want to hear that you're excited for this, because I've wanted to do this for a long time, like I say, and I think this is the perfect chance to offer it for, you know, a pretty incredible deal, basically. So regardless as to whether you join the bootcamp or not, you can still track the books that I'm producing. So we have the addition and subtraction workbook, which has already been released. You can track these as and when they come out. I'll make announcements through email or my YouTube channel when I do this, so that you can track how I'm growing this brand and creating more books in it. Okay, so that's Raydog Maths if you want to track that. Okay, so I think that's pretty much everything for this review. There might be a few things that I've missed out, so if you've got any questions and need any clarification with anything at all, make sure that you leave a comment below, and I'll see you in some videos coming up very soon.